Hello everyone, welcome to this lecture. My name is Divya and I'm having 10 years of experience in the industry as a Java architect. And today's topic we are going to discuss is about multi-threading. Multi-threading is a very important concept in the advanced Java, and let us get into the agenda of today. See, what we are going to discuss today is our main agenda for today is what is multi-threading and what are the advantages of multi-threading, multitasking versus multi-threading, and types of multitasking, and what is the thread and its life cycle, and how to create a thread and thread scheduler in Java. Okay, and followed with some interview questions which are very important. I'll be explaining you at the last. Okay, so now let us see the some real-time scenarios in multi-threading. Okay, so oh, so now let us understand what is multi-threading in real-time scenario. Multi-threading is a process of executing multiple threads simultaneously. That means we are running at a same time. Some applications will be running at the same time. Okay, now let us see some example. Suppose if a user is browsing the internet and he may be also using the uh, music player behind, and when he is doing the two tasks at once, there may be running internet that virus protector scanning for the malware, which we will not be able to see, which will be running behind the scenes. So these three applications will be running simultaneously in our OS. So now let us consider a internet browser. See, when I'm using a internet browser, see, I'm just using an internet browser. In first tab, I might be using some YouTube, YouTube. In next tab, I might be browsing some Gmail. In next tab, I may be using some other Facebook feed or something like that. So what is happening in so now we are considering this internet Google Chrome example. So each new tab will be the parent of child of this Google Chrome. So each tab will be the child of this parent Google Chrome. This each tab will be the small threads. That is the each tab, the small one will be the uh, thread. So now let me explain you very clearly what is a thread. A thread is nothing but a sub-process. A thread is a lightweight sub-process of small unit of processing. Okay, so now let us see here what I will explain here through this diagram. Okay, now let us consider a OS. OS is nothing but a operating system. So there may be running three. Here I am showing some process is running. Each process is having some threads. So in process one, I'm having three threads. There may be like thread one, I'll be doing my browsing. In thread two, I'll be doing some other task. In thread three, I will be seeing some Facebook feed or something like that. All this comes under in one process, which is my Google Chrome. Okay, each one will be the thread. Each tab will be my one thread running behind. So in process 2, I'll be listening to Google YouTube video or something like that. In process 3, one thread is running behind, which I will not be able to see, but it will be running like my virus, which will be scanning for my malware in my system. So this all comes in my OS, which some I will be aware, some I will not be aware, and I will not be aware to see which will be running behind. This is the multi-threading. Basically, this multi-threading is used for we can do multiple tasks at once at a same time. And now let us see. I hope you understand what is multi-threading now. Multi-threading is nothing but when we are performing a multiple threads simultaneously. A thread can be a thread can be executed inside the process, and See, in this diagram, I hope you understand. A thread is executed inside a process. See, a thread will be inside a process. See, this process 3 is having one thread, process 1 is having 3 threads, and process 2 is having 2 threads. And there can be multiple processes inside the OS. See, there can be multiple process inside the OS. There are multiple processes. See, 1, 2, 3 processes there, and there can be multiple number of threads in each process. It is not required to stay that only 1, 2 is there in process. There can be multiple threads in process and multiple process in the OS. This is what we have to understand in multiple threading. Okay. Now let us see what are the advantages of multi-threading. See, as a user, we don't have, as the threads are independent, we can perform multiple operations at the same time, so that we can save the time. All operations are performed at the same time, so the time will be saved, as the threads are independent. If if one thread is having some exception, we don't have to worry. It will not affect the other thread. Suppose in this process one, there may be exception in T1, that is thread 1. It will not affect the thread 2. The thread 2 will be doing its own task, because the threads are independent. It is not dependent on each other. There will not, if T1 is having some exception, it will not affect my T2 or T3. They will be doing their own task, their operation. It will be running behind. Okay, this is what, that's why a thread is an independent. So now next topic, that is what I have explained you what is multi-threading, advantages of multi-threading, and let us go to next topic, multitasking and multi-threading. Multitasking is nothing but, it is the same, but I will explain you clearly with this diagram itself. Okay. So now what is multitasking is allowing the CPU to perform multiple tasks is nothing but a multitasking. We are allowing a CPU to use multiple tasks, that is a program, a process, task, and a thread. All this include a task. That means multiple tasks is nothing but a multitasking. Whereas when we are using a when we are allowing multiple threads of the same process to execute simultaneously, that means this process is nothing but a multi-threading. We are having multi-threads running in this one process. All this process having can have multiple threads. See, in this, all these are related to same task. That means all related to one task. That that is what is multi-threading and multitasking. Multitasking is nothing but we are allowing CPU to perform multiple tasks. Like the CPU will be used to perform multiple tasks like process and tasks and threads program. All this include my multitasking. What is multi-threading? Multi-threading is nothing but we are using multiple threads of same task. We are using same task, multiple threads. Don't get confused here. Here I will just explain you here. See one more time, because multitasking is nothing but we are performing multiple tasks. Like we are, there can be a process, there can be a program, there can be even a thread or even a task. All this include my multitasking. Multi-threading is nothing but we are having multi-threads of same process. We are using multiple threads of same process. See, this all threads belong to process one. That means multiple threading is this. What is multitasking? This process, there can be one more task, that is I'll be listening to music. There can be one more process, I'll be checking in my Google some other thing, something like that. It is all related to multitasking. Multitasking is nothing but we are performing different types of process, tasks, or program or threads. This all include my multitasking. Whereas my multi-threading comes, it comes to the multiple threads of same process. All um, threads are comes under one process. That is what multi-threading and multitasking. Multitask include different kinds of tasks like process or program or threads or process, whatever it may be, it will be coming under my multitasking. Whereas my multiple threading comes to, I'll be having multiple threads under same process. That is what my multi-threading. Now let us see what are the types of the multitasking. There are two types of multitasking, that is process based multitasking and thread based multitasking. In that process based, each process will have an address in the memory. So what is this mean? In other words, we can say like each process allocates a separate memory area. That is what the process based drawback is. In each process, see here in the same diagram I will explain, because you can consider this as process based multitask. See, because here each process is having some memory storage for each process. So let me consider this process one. It will be storing some memory in the CPU. So in the same way, the process 2, process 3. So what is this? So the process 1 will be having some separate memory, and process 2 will be having separate memory, and process 3 will be also having a separate memory in the storage. So because of this, the cost of communication between each process is high. When I'm trying to communicate with process 1 to process 2, it will be very high, because when I'm trying to communicate with process 1, see here, there will be some storage behind. Every time the process run, it will be storing the data in the memory. And in the process 2, it will be storing the data into 2. So when the communication comes into picture, it will be very difficult to communicate between each other. It will be very difficult in the sense it's very costly. It's not impossible, I say. It is possible, but it is costly. And the communication between the process is very high in respect of cost. So when I'm trying to switching from one process to other process, so I hope you know this, because when we are trying to I'll just give you some real time example. Okay, suppose we are searching in something in Amazon. Okay, some product you are searching, and suddenly you realize that you don't want that, and you try to search for other. So there will be some time taking in between such, right? The process will be very slow, because it is already selected whatever, maybe I'm searching for shoes or something else. So I already selected, I wanted to delete and I wanted to add new. So something, the process will be very slow, because mm, the process communication between the inter process communication between two processes is very costly, and it is very slow compared to threats. I'll explain you that. Let me explain you this fully. Okay, when I'm trying to switch from one process to other process, suddenly I search for shoe, and suddenly I wanted to search for other, like kerchief or something, or something else. I wanted to search mobile. I want to search for mobile. So when I'm trying to research everything from one process to other process, I hope you know the browser will be loading, uh, it's taking some time to load each other product. So this is what the running behind backside. What happens when we are switching a process? What happens is it needs some time for saving the loading register, memory applications lists. It has to update each lists and all. So because of that, it has to update everything here into this process one memory, and again I can come to my process 2. That's why the switching between the process is very difficult, because I have to settle down whatever is there in process 1 and then go to the process 2. Again, if I want to come to process 1, again I have to settle down whatever the memory is running behind process 2. I have to everything settle down here and then come to process 1. That's why the intercommunication between process is very difficult, and it's very costly, and that's why a process is a heavy weighted. We can say it is heavy weighted. Okay, let us see thread based multitasking, which is multi-threading. Okay, now let us see, I'll explain you that also here only. So in the process one, we are having 3 threads. In the process 2, I'm having 2 threads. In process 3, I'm having only 1 thread. See, you can see here the process 1 is having 3 threads. T1 can communicate to T2 and T2 can communicate to T3, whereas again T3 can communicate to T1. So here what is happening, the threads can share the same address space. All these threads will be having same address. There will not be different memory space for T2, T3 and T1. So all these threads will be having the same address, same memory. All the all the address space will be at the same place for all these 3 threads. So the intercommunication will be very fast where, where compared to process. The communication between the process will be difficult because the process will be having separate memory. Because of that, it will be very difficult to communicate between processes, and context switching also very difficult in between processes. Whereas it comes to threads, you see here all these 3 threads can be communicated easily because there will be having the same memory for all these 3 threads. So the cost of communication between the threads is very low compared to cost of communication between processes. These are the differences and advantages between process and threads, and thread-based multitasking and thread multitasking and multi-threading. Okay, this is what it is. So now let us understand what is a thread. I hope you understand what is thread based multitasking and process based multitasking.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now let us see what is a thread. A thread is see here the T1 is a thread. T1 is thread. Here also T1, T2. Here it is having 2. So now I hope you understand that what is a thread. A thread is nothing but a sub process. Sub process are the smallest unit of processing. Okay, so it is a very lightweighted. It is very lightweighted sub process. Here I can see my full process, that is P1, whereas it is cut down into small parts, that is T1, T2, T3. The process is cut down into small parts, is nothing but a thread. Okay, it is the smallest unit of processing. In easy words, I can say, as the threads are independent, if there is an exception in one thread, it does not affect the other threads because it is sharing some it is share it is using the shared memory. It is not having different memory for each thread. So if there is an exception in T1 or T3, it will not stop the other threads to run. They will be doing the task. This is the main advantage of threading. And the intercommunication between the threads is also very fast, and cost of communication is also less. Okay, now let us see the next topic, that is, I've already explained you types of multitasking, and I've explained you what is a thread. And now let us see the life cycle of a thread. Okay, let us see what is a life cycle of a thread. When comes to the life cycle of a thread, there are 5 states in the life cycle of a thread. That is the new, runnable, running, terminated, and non-runnable states. These states are, first I will explain you what is a new state of a thread. A new state is nothing but a thread is created. Okay, the instance of thread class if we create a instance of the thread class. Here the thread will be created, but it will not be called, it will not be called because until and unless we use the start method, the thread will not be called. Okay, the start method makes the thread to start. I hope you can see in this diagram, there is a start method. Until and unless the start method is invoked, the thread will not be started. Okay, then in the new state, now you understand that in new state, the thread will be called, but it will not be, it will be, the thread will be created. That's it. It will not be started until and unless we use this start method, as you can see here. Okay, this is what the new state. The thread will be created, and if we create an instance of thread class, we can create the instance of a thread class, but the invocation of start method is not done. That is in the thread is in state what? New state. Okay, now let us see the next state, that is runnable. It is in a runnable state after the invocation of the start method. After the invocation of the start method, that means I have started the thread with start method. So the thread will be moving to my runnable state. So now it is in runnable state. So it is running. Now let us consider what is happening in runnable state. The start method is invoked and the thread scheduler has not started to run the thread. Now let us see what is a thread scheduler. Thread scheduler in Java is nothing but it is a part of a JVM which decides the which thread to run. Okay. Now let us see what will happen in runnable state. The thread will be started, but it will not be taken under consideration of thread scheduler. A thread scheduler is nothing but which selects a thread to run. Okay, but in runnable state, this thread has just started, but it is not selected by the thread scheduler. That is in runnable state. Now let us see what is running state. In running state, what happens? In running state, the thread is started here and came to the running state because the thread scheduler has selected that particular thread. So it came into a running state. After the running state, it comes into a terminated state when the start method exists. Okay, or the stop, there can be anything. If the start method exists or stop method is called, then the thread will be going into terminated state. Now, I'll just explain you what is this non-runnable or blocked state. I hope you can see in this diagram what will happen. I'll just explain you now. Okay. In non-runnable state, what happens? It is the state the thread will be still alive but not eligible to run. That means when there is multiple threads running, I hope you understanding this. When there is a multiple threads, the thread scheduler will be following some methods to select the thread. Okay, I'll explain you that also. Now for here you just understand that what is non-runnable state of a thread. Okay, in this here what happens, there will be multiple threads calling. Many threads will be coming from new state to runnable state. But here what happens, the thread scheduler will be making the threads to sleep, no, will be making the threads to stop, or it will not, it will make it sleep or something, it will make the block, it is not getting selected by the thread scheduler. So it will be in some waiting state in runnable state only. So it is not getting selected by thread scheduler. Okay, that is what happening in the non-runnable state. In non-runnable state, what happens? This it is still alive. The thread is not dead, but it is still allowable, but currently not eligible to run. It is making, we are making it to sleep, or we are calling by running sleep, Sleep means, see, I'll just explain you what is happening, what is written here. Okay, what happens first? It comes to new, unrunnable, and running. In running state, what happens? Whether the the thread scheduler has selected it, but making it to sleep for some time. For some time, then it's going to non-runnable state or blocked state. That means it is making to wait for some time in the non-runnable state. Then it's going to non-runnable state of the thread. What happens in the running state? Again, I am explaining you. It can, the thread scheduler can make the thread to sleep or block for some time, or wait for lock, or suspend, or wait for some time. Wait for lock and wait is different. I'll just tell you what is, I'll just give some methods in an Excel for your understanding. Okay, now for now you understand what is here. Okay, what will happen in the running state? The thread can either be wait or sleep or locked down or suspended. Then it will go into non-runnable state. Here in non-runnable state, what happens? The sleep is done, then goes to the sleep time is done. Then it will go to the runnable state. And IO time is complete. Then it will go to the runnable state. The lock available resume or lock is available, then it will go into runnable state and then come to running state, and then it will run the entire thread here. Here what is notify and notify all? I'll explain you what it is. Notify nothing but it is making the thread that it is available, it is available to run. It is telling that I'm available to run. So after running, it can run running method, it can call by stop method, and it is terminated. This is what the life cycle of a thread. I hope you understand what is life cycle of thread. I will just give you outer view again one more time. Okay, what happens in the new state? It is new state, that means the thread is just created, it is not getting started until and unless we use the start method. Then it will go to the runnable state. Okay, then what happens in the runnable state? The thread scheduler is not selected any thread, but it is in the runnable state. When it comes into the running state, the thread scheduler has selected the thread, but there can be multiple scenarios here in this state. That is, it can make the thread to sleep or block on IO or wait for lock or suspend or wait. Because of multi-threading, there can be some priority is given to the thread, so that because of the priorities, the threads can be asked to sleep or wait for lock or suspend and wait. So because of these methods, they again, the thread will be going to the non-runnable state, that is blocked state. So it will be, it is not dead here. There, the thread is still available and it is still alive, but we have to call it back to runnable state by using these methods. Okay, after the running state, the thread is getting terminated by using stop or when the start method exits. Okay, I hope you understand what is life cycle of a thread. Okay, now let us see what is how to create a thread. Okay, now let us see some examples on a thread. I'll just explain you that how to create a thread. We can create a thread using two ways. That is by extending a thread class or by implementing a runnable interface. See here, I am implementing runnable interface. This is an interface. My runnable is interface, whereas this thread is a thread class. There will be some default thread class which will be coming from my object. I'll explain on this. Okay, now let us see this example. I'll be extending. We can create the thread by two ways. That is by extending thread class and by implementing the runnable interface. In thread class, it provides us in this, whatever I'm highlighting here, this is a thread class. Okay, it provides us constructors and methods to create a thread class and to perform operations on thread. The thread class extends object class and implements runnable interface. This is getting extended from object class. Okay. And here in this runnable interface example, this runnable interface example should be implemented in any class whose instances are intended to be executed by a thread. Here there should be surely having this thread. Here I hope you can see here I should use this thread. Without this thread, this runnable interface will not be working here. Okay. And one more thing here, in runnable interface, the run method should be there. Without this run in implementation, the runnable interface will not be working. Okay, this is what the default in runnable interfaces. We'll be just implementing the runnable interface to create the thread. Okay. So in these two ways, we can create the threads. In first way, I'm just extending this thread. This thread class is extended from object class and implementing the runnable interface. See, what is the difference? What's the difference? I'll just explain you. I'll just run this one. Okay. Here thread class extends is running. See here what is happening. Here I just created a class with multi name, extended my thread. This is what the first way of creating a thread. Okay, in this I am having some default method as void run, in which I am just printing my sample output. I'm just calling my main method. So here I'm just creating an object of multi. Here I'm just making the t1 dot start. T1 dot start means it is, I've already explained you what is start. Start is making the thread to start initially. Okay. So now let us see the next example. Start method is the initial state, that is after new state when I'm making the thread to start. After the start, the thread will be going to running state here. Okay. So now let us see the next example, that is multi.2. I just created a sample class with multi2 implementing my runnable interface. Without this run method, this runnable interface will not be running. So in this run method, I'm just displaying my sample output text. Okay, here I'm making my object for my class here. Here I'm having, see, I hope you can see here what I'm doing. I'm without this thread class, it will not be running. This runnable interface will not be, without making the object for a thread, we will not be able to use this runnable interface. Okay, here I'm creating this thread only, this object only I'm calling here also. Here I'm just creating object for thread T1 and I'm passing this object here. Okay, so I'm making my thread to start, so it will be start and running. I'll just show you the output. Okay, I hope you understand what is happening here. So now I'll just explain you one more topic here. What will happen when I'm trying to run? What is the main here? This is very important here. When we are getting some exception in Java, there will be some exception like some error is coming in the main or something like that. No. So what is that main means? This main is nothing but it is also one important thread every time it is running. When we are running a Java program, main is also a one thread for JVM. It will be running in the JVM. Okay, the thread scheduler will be taking this main method. This main is nothing but a thread for the JVM. Whenever we are making a sample program or something like that, when you are creating a void main, connected string dot args. This main is nothing but a one thread for the JVM. So it will be taking like this enter program is one thread to the JVM. So I'm giving multiple mains. So it will be taking the multiple tasks in the JVM. JVM is also nothing but multiple threads are getting accessed by JVM. So this is also one example for the multi-threading. Whatever the Java is also doing, it is also one example, this main method. Okay. So now let us see. Let us go to the next topic, that is thread scheduler in Java. Okay. What is a thread scheduler in Java? That means here, see, in this life cycle of thread in running state, what happens? I'll just give brief scenario here. Okay, here there will be thread scheduler in a it will be placed in the, it is the important part in the JVM that decides which thread to run. I've already explained you that, but it is not in how the thread will be decided, we cannot know. Okay, the thread scheduler will be selecting defaultly, but we can follow some important um, schedulers to uh, give the thread scheduler. It will be following two important methods. It mainly uses two important methods, that is primitive primitive execution and time slicing scheduling. Okay, there are two ways of scheduling, that is how the thread scheduler will be taking the threads. In two ways it is taking the threads. First one is primitive scheduling. In primitive scheduling, what happens? What is the highest priority to run the task? It is getting executed. It is getting taking the place in the thread executor, that is thread scheduler. Okay, that is how this is happening in the running state here. So what is the next step? What is the next type? That is time slicing. In time slicing, the task executes for a predefined slice of time and re-enters the pool of ready tasks after the particular time is finished. So here, sorry, in the time, what happens when uh, the thread will be given a particular time to wait or sleep or something like that. Okay, so this is getting given to the thread scheduler. In these two ways we can create, these are the scheduling ways to schedule a thread by thread scheduler. Okay, first one is primitive scheduling and second one is time slicing. What happens here? After a particular time, after a particular time in thread time slicing, what happens after a task is given a particular time? After that time, it will be automatically coming into runnable state. That is what here is happening here. Okay, I hope you understand this.
Yes.
Okay, so now let us see last topic, that is what is content switching. Content switching is nothing but the state of the process is stored. What happens is, in this program, see, here only the state of the process is getting stored in some memory. So it is restored. It can be restored and execution can be resumed from the same point later. So what happens when I'm trying to switch from one process to other process? Here I should save my present data. So for example, I hope you all know that we'll be having one option to in our Google Chrome. See, when I entered back, I can please open my shutdown tabs. Okay, when I reopen, it will ask one suggestion like do you want to open the old tabs back? So this is what is happening. It is somewhere storing your running behind data and giving it back to you when you're back to the Google Chrome. I hope you know this. This is what is the context switching. What is happening here? It will be restored. All your tasks will be stored somewhere, and when the execution resumed, it will be starting from the same point. That is the use of the context switching, because each time the process starts and runs, it will be storing running behind the data. Whenever you're trying to come back to the process back, it will be showing you the same process at the same time. So it enables multiple processes to run and share the same CPU. This is what a context switching. I've already explained you what is process, what is a thread. A process is nothing but a program. I've already explained what is process and thread, right? Process is nothing but a which can have multiple threads, and each part of a process is nothing but a thread. A process can be cut down into pieces, which means it is a thread. The small portion of process is nothing but a thread. Okay, that's what the process and thread differences. Um, now I hope I finished all the topics here. Okay, now let us go to the interview questions. In interview questions, I'll just take what is the first question? What is a thread? A thread is nothing but a sub process of a task or process. It is a sub process. See here in this diagram, I've already explained you here. See here, a process is nothing but a simple tasks. A task like I'm opening my Google Chrome or something else. I'm listening to your music. I'm listening to some other music. I'm viewing some movie or something like that. All this comes under a tasks, which will be assigned to my OS. Okay, each process can have multiple tasks, multiple threads. Threads are nothing but each there will be some sub programs, sub processes running in a process, which are cut down. Each sub process is nothing but a thread, which is very lightweighted. Okay, it is a separate path of execution for the process. Okay, that is what thread is. Okay, now I've explained you what is a process and a thread. A process is nothing but, next question is that only, right? What is the difference between a process and a thread? A process is nothing but a task, multiple tasks, or some process which are used to. A program in a execution is called a program. A process, a program, some process, a program is running. So I wanted to run a program, like I wanted to see a movie or something like that. It is my program. Okay, what will be the process to go there to view the movie? I'm switching on my Google Chrome and then typing the YouTube or something else, Amazon Prime. I'm typing the what is the it is a process to complete my program. So what is the process? What is the program? Don't get confused. Program is nothing but a uh, program is nothing but what I want. It is my program. What I want to view a movie. So what I will do, it is a process. So this is what the process and a program. A program in the execution is called a process. A program in execution is nothing but a process. Whereas my my thread is nothing but a subset of a process. All these three are interlinked. Don't get confused, okay? So now let us see the next question. I've explained you what are the stages of the life cycle of a thread. So I'll just give you an outer view of that here. Okay. See, there are 5 states. First one is new, runnable, running, terminated, and non-runnable states of a thread. First one will be the new state. Until and unless the thread is created, but until and unless a new method, a start method is called, it will not be started. Okay, after the start method is included called invoked, then it will be coming into the runnable. After the runnable state, what happens in runnable state, the thread scheduler he is not yet selected this particular thread, so it is still in the runnable state only. After this runnable state, what happens? The thread scheduler has selected this particular thread, so it came into the running state. After this running state, the thread can be either go into a sleep state or lock state or suspend state or wait state or directly go into the exit state. It can have it can happen uh, basis on the thread scheduler. Thread scheduler either can make it run or ask the particular thread to sleep or wait for some time, or directly ask to suspend. Okay, this is what happens in running state. It is the most important state of the thread in life cycle. Okay, what happens? Either it can go here or directly come into terminated state. Here, what happens here? After it is called, this particular methods is called, it would directly go into runnable state. That means in the thread scheduler has asked the thread to either to block or to wait or to sleep or to suspend. Then it will comes into this non-runnable state. That means the thread is still alive, but it is not in a running state. It is in a non-running state. Either we can make it resume back to the runnable state by calling these methods. This is the life cycle of a thread. Okay, there are 5 states. Okay, I've explained you. Next one, what is the difference between primitive scheduling and time slicing? Primitive scheduling is nothing but it takes the priority of a thread which is having the highest priority to run at this particular time, that is getting called by the scheduler. Thread
I'm
schedule.
have I'm having one doubt here, ma'am. How will we be knowing the priority? Will we be able to choose the priority, or how it will be known which is highest priority?
That means the here what happens in thread scheduler, the scheduler will be having some particular time given, or like which is running more times or waiting for long time, something like that. It will be defined in the the JVM will be telling that the process is waiting for long time, or something like that will be given here. So the priority will be given according to the JVM. JVM will be giving that particular priority to the thread to execute the particular tasks. Okay. So next one is time slicing. Time slicing is nothing but a task executes for a predefined time. So the time will be given for a particular task, for a particular thread to run, and it will be re-entering into the pool of ready tasks. After the particular time is done, it will be ready to go into the ready pool. That is what primitive and time slicing. And next one is uh, what is the last thing? Context switching. Context switching, I've already explained you this also. What happens in context switching? See here in this process, 1 minute. See here what happens here when I'm trying to communicate with these two process, the state of the process is getting stored in memory. So because when I'm coming back to the same process, I can start with the same point. Because of that, I'm just storing my process state of the process in the memory, so it will be easy to context saving, and my time is also saved, and it is enable multiple process to run at the same time. So this is what the use of the context switching, and these are the major important questions that are asked in interview related to this topic we have discussed. There are some more some more important topics to be discussed in the multi-threading that we will be seeing in the next class. See here, I will be sharing you this important methods of thread class, which will be having the default methods, which is very important. I'll just give brief examples of this. I will just told you all of this. Some of this I will just told you. You just go through this all this methods so that you will understand why we are using this all methods. Okay, I'll be sharing all of this after this session. You just go through this for your clarity, and we'll see in the next topic.
Ma'am, your voice is low.
We will see in the next topic, that is multitasking, multi-threading, and all of these methods where we are using, why we are using. So you just, before that, you just go through this Excel clearly and try to understand up to your knowledge. I'll be explaining you later briefly on this. Okay, any doubts?
Mm.
Okay, then thank you.